appreciate you checking out my main podcast channel. This is the channel for my long form content covering the notable CDM and geek news, plus the business behind it. Also, be sure to check out my other channel, the sylabdul Geek Network, for my short form content. If you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you jump over there, subscribe at sylabdul Geek on YouTube.
I'm a watchman forever vigilant, steady watching and listening, disciplined, militant, killing these dudes that started visiting. What's the latest word, yo Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard, yo Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in, we need to know. Your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show, let's go.
Where do you kind of feel, and because I know you weren't like a fan of James Gunn Superman. At this point, do you at least notice there's a fan base for it? I guess that's the best question to ask you first.
Yeah, but like they were there. I don't think the question was that there never was a fan base. Mm-hmm. I think they were always there. What I find funny, if anything, is it's just maybe the double standard or the hypocrisy behind what those fans talk about and bring up, because these are the same people that had certain complaints about Snyder's films. Mm-hmm. And then this guy took that, did what you complained about, but maybe even a step further, and somehow it's okay now, so they were always there. It's just funny where they stand on things. They got no backbone really to stand on what they said before, because I don't know,
I after, because like I said, I put it out there as far as, I checked out, the James Gunn Superman.
Right.
I look at it as just, it's just another iteration of DC. That's kind of where I went into, just like, you got the Tim Burton, the Schumacher, Nolan, Snyder. So I was like, this is just another iteration. Let's just see what he got. Mm-hmm. You got his, you got a James Gunn fan base out there, and they're somewhat active. Is this just going to be more of the same? Because I think this needs to scale up from what we already have. From your end, just kind of how did the announcement kind of land, or as far as how you've seen people respond to it?
Here's the funny part is, even amongst those that I guess liked the film, or were super hyped about it, I didn't even see much chatter from them about this reveal, so that says something, which I think really what it says is, I think the truth is, look, I'm not trying to throw shots, man, but I gotta say, if you were really, I guess, honest about being hyped about Superman, the one that just came out, I would assume you would have that same energy about this, and it's not there. And I think that speaks volumes about truly what this recent Superman film did. You know what I'm saying? So there wasn't, awkwardly enough, there wasn't chatter, not even from them. I don't know, I think there's more to be said when it comes to, well, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Again, we had this discussion last time, so we don't have to get into the weeds of it, but I believe the strength of DC is that it stands apart from anything else. You know what I mean? I mean, the reality is most comic books do that, right? Each house stands apart in their own way. You know what I mean? Cinematically, I feel DC has really, at least up until the point where they just lost their marbles and just wanted to do the same as everybody else. But that was really the strength of DC, is the fact that you knew you were getting something different, something that stands on its own. And I think what was it, that interview with Zach and Grace, where he mentions that's the strength of DC, quote unquote, Warner Brothers, is that they give the director pretty much the same they would give a DC author, you know what I'm saying, or a comic book writer, where it's do your own thing.
Yep.
Do with this character what you will. That is the strength, right? But obviously still within the confines of what these characters are and what they stand for, obviously, but still do your own thing, you know. That's been a strength. And it just seems like recently that's where they fell off. I think they,
Yeah.
you know, they're just trying to, they were trying to do too much of what already has been done. And I think that's also what's missing now with this new DC, I guess, universe that Gunn's trying to build. It doesn't really stand apart. It, you know, like, okay, yeah, you're choosing characters that haven't been used, but like, what are you doing with them? You know,
Yeah, I think that in a weird way, it's like, because it's sort of a negative connotation, you know, when you say that, and but in a weird way, this is what they wanted, in a sense that to fit in.
Yeah,
right?
no, you're right.
It's come out. We're gonna do more of the same with Man of Tomorrow, and that's just kind of where it's at with me.
That there was that time period where not even just comic book fans, but general audiences were like interested and like tuned in, not necessarily like tuned into the more deeper cut things that you know or something like that, but tuned in into the sense of like everyone knew DC movie coming out, Marvel movie coming out, and they were all invested in what these you know, movies had to offer. And yeah, like the reality is I remember when Man of Steel first came out, it was a must watch, you know. And I remember the theater was packed. People, you know, which again, this is why I you know, when we last discussed it, I'm like, you know, I think the reality is, to me, regardless of whatever the chatter was online, I don't think that truly ever represented the reality of how people felt about any of those films. Because in the theater I was in, it was nothing but like oohs, ahs, applause. You know what I mean? Like everybody, you know, and it's not like I was in a theater packed with like a bunch of geeks or something. It was just all kinds of people, you know what I mean? So it was that's how all those movies were. Not just, you know, I'm saying Man of Steel because it was like even that film, you know, I know you kind of hesitated or paused there, but it's like, no, you're right. These movies, especially in that time, they were like an event type thing, even though we weren't knowing it was going to be like some sort of cinematic universe. But there was something about that time that, like, yeah, between a Marvel movie and a DC movie, you were going to watch it. It was a must-do thing, you know.
I only set aside, because you make a good point. I only set aside Man of Steel, and you kind of touched on it, but it's just that all we had was Man of Steel right there, and we didn't know, you know, we didn't have the BVS announcement yet, right? And so when Man of Steel came out, it was just more of like, that's a Superman I felt we needed.
Yes,
at that time, after Superman Returns, you know, Brandon Routh. Shout out to Brandon Routh though, because I always use that in a bad connotation, because he did a great Kingdom Come Superman on CW. He actually redeemed himself. But when Man of Steel came out, like we needed action. We needed that entire Krypton sequence. Russell Crowe is like forever goated with that. But as much as I was excited, I went to an afternoon screening. First day Man of Steel came out, and so it wasn't as packed, you know, just in the afternoon. But
that makes sense.
It was just exciting seeing again just a Krypton. There's a Smallville fight, and that was the beginning. But nothing was like BVS to me in theaters. Nothing. That's the only reason why I hesitated on Man of Steel. It's just I was just like, it was kind of the beginning, great launch of a Snyderverse, but BVS was just like insane in that theater. And then Snyder Cut, I was one of the privileged people to see it on IMAX during Full Circle, and of course that theater was crazy. Well, you know, so that's the reason why I put Man of Steel over here. I'm just like, of course, the cultural impact is there for Man of Steel, but just BVS was something else.
No, you're right about that. I mean, it's you know, not to like make it seem like there's an equivalency here, although I think there is, but I would say it's kind of like when you
arguably.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like when you see when you went to Batman Begins comes out, right? Christopher Nolan. We really didn't know where that was going, you know, and you know, you went in, and yeah, like people, oh man, you know, obviously the rumblings start happening, and those who did go see it were like, yo, okay, Batman Begins, yo,
and the ending with the Joker card, you like,
yeah, and then that Joker
I was
card
like,
ending,
oh,
you know, so it was building. It was like, okay, it's building onto something, you know.
yeah.
And but nonetheless, when you first went to go see it, or when it first was being announced, it wasn't like there was all this hype. It was, but it was just, you know, it's Batman, whatever. I mean, the numbers don't lie. That Batman Begins isn't you know, money wise, but I'm sure like if people could revisit that time period, it would be that, you know, like it would millions, whatever, billions, whatever. Who cares? But my whole point is it's that, and then you get The Dark Knight, and it's still like one of the most beloved like Batman films of all time, right?
I'm gonna abridge that. It's one of the most beloved films. Period.
Period.
Like that transcended. Right. I still think that's Nolan's. I mean, people are gonna be like, "Oh, wait a minute, Nolan." Well, no, I don't want to go too far with this one, but
no, go ahead.
That's arguably Nolan's best film. He's like just edited. Just if you watch The Dark Knight, it doesn't even feel like a comic book movie.
No,
and when I say that, I mean you're transcending something. You're watching history. You know, something happening you've never seen before with The Dark Knight.
You know, you're 100% right. I mean, I always tell people this is the marker of a film that did something, or not even like this is the only thing. I'm just saying there's things to point out that happened at the release of that film. And this is, to me, is probably still the wildest thing, considering the amount of comic book movies we have. But this is what lets you know this transcended that, like you're saying, and that's that it influenced people to become these characters in real life. You know what I mean? That's how monumental and transformative and transcending that movie was. That, for better, from the better side to the worst side, you know, you had maniacs thinking this Joker is who I want to be, and dressed like Joker and did stupid things just like, you know what I'm saying? And that's what they did. But on the flip side, people, you know, we focus on the negative things that happened, but on the flip side, you had guys dressing up like the Dark Knight, driving around in Lambos and you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And actually out there thinking they're fighting crime. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what
cultural impact. That's what we're, and see, it's like when we talk about Nolan and, like I said, Snyder, and we'll get more into that as we go, and then we come back to Gunn. It's like, that's what I'm saying, the feeling that's missing with this James Gunn Superman, whether people out there like the film or not, whether you feel I'm low-key hating or not, or whatever on the film. Again, I say it's an okay film, and I'm probably the nice person saying this. I'm probably the very positive person saying it. And I'm just like, it was okay. And you're not getting that from a lot of people. Again, you got extreme people that, you know, on opposite sides of this. And I'm just saying, just in general, I think most people just like, I mean, you know,
no, I think in general it was, it was, look, I'm gonna be nice. I can go ahead and say it was an okay, you know, it was decent. It was okay.
You don't gotta say it though.
If I'm gonna be nice, I'm just saying, if I'm gonna be nice, that's what I would say. I wouldn't go further than that. You know what I'm saying?
No, because on Twitter he was like, if anybody likes this film, they are the dumbest. I was like, damn, bro. Like, you know, I mean, you did do that, but I'm just playing.
I just did that. Look, I ain't gonna stop, man. I did
you
say
gotta
that.
check your brain if you like this trash.
You need help. You need help. If you like this movie, go seek help.
And I know where that's coming from, but just, you know, for the audience, because, you know, I have mixed viewership at times with these topics, and
for sure.
Where does that come from? Where it's like it's obviously something extra to that, like, and not saying it's like not warranted,
right?
But just if you could explain where does that come from, where it's like maybe it's an okay movie, maybe it's a below average film, but it was a little extra with your feeling with the
Look, here's the reality. Online, you get, and I mean, not even just online, even like if you were having a conversation amongst buddies, amongst friends, and you know what I'm saying, you guys are in that circle, you're having that talk, you know what I'm saying, emotions are flying high, you know what I'm saying, and you know, I just watched the movie, so my adrenaline is like this piece of shit garbage movie, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, I'm just on 10, you know what I mean, and that's what you're getting out of me, like, you're getting me, like, you know what I'm saying, those statements are me coming right out of the theater, you know what I'm saying, I'm coming for somebody, you know. But you know, obviously, then the obviously the camaraderie of if you have like-minded people that have the same feelings about it, then it kind of heightens the emotion of it all. You know what I mean? But and like you said, there's warranted facts to the statements, but does it need to be said necessarily that way? Not necessarily. I didn't have to go that hard. You know what I mean? But I did at the moment. You know,
sometimes you gotta let it out, man.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, no regrets here. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry if I offended somebody, obviously. You know what I'm saying? But no regrets. I said what I said. You know?
And like I said, I think overall with the Snyder fandom, even people that was, you know, trying to be objective about this James Gunn stuff, we know the baggage that comes with, you know, the Warner Brothers, though, you know, it was, you know, previous regimes, but still that stain is there of them course correcting. You know, just recently, this current regime was as of they had Cavill in the Flash film, and they 180'd that and hired Gunn. So you know, it's that baggage, and so I mean, obviously, I understand that when people go just, you know, 10 plus on saying like this is all trash, it's complete. It's like, hey, and maybe it is trash too, you know what I mean? But also I think some of that too is just the war we've been through, you know.
Can I say this though? Can I say this? And this is gonna be crazy. I know a lot of people, even on the side of the, you know, Snyder fans, they'll probably even hate what I'm about to say here too. But you know, I'll even go on record and say this. I prefer the mediocre stuff that at least connected loosely to what was great than this new Superman universe.
So Hamada,
basically, I will take the Hamada burgers. I will take the Hamada burgers. I will take the Hamada burgers over the Gunn microwavable meal.
I'm gonna leave that up to the chat. Like, would you rather those? Now, of course, you have the hardcore Gunn people. Like, Gunn's the greatest. I'm not talking about y'all right now. I'm saying those who's like, yo, this James Gunn Superman is trash. Do you rather the Hamada run?
I'd rather watch Shazam and you know what I'm saying? Fury of the Gods and Aquaman and
oh my goodness,
you know, the Lost whatever. I don't know.
Lost World, I think it was Lost Kingdom, something like that.
Lost Kingdom, but Black Adam, I'll take Black Adam for sure.
But I'll definitely take Black Adam over this. And so this is what we got. So because it's just funny in real time, you know, we talk about the scale of James Gunn or lack thereof scale, and then we get to the Nolan stuff. It's like another energy, you know. And then you look at this, you know, upcoming, you know, slate of James Gunn, and this is kind of a loose one, but you know, you got Lanterns coming up, which I think will be a decent series. Clayface.
I think people are really looking forward to that. I think, and I think it should be. I think it should be nice, you know?
Decent, but it's just streaming, right? I still think Lanterns should be big screen, but really that's another topic, I guess. But Clayface, low budget horror, DC horror. You know, the decent, and then you got Supergirl up there. Let's just kind of talk about this now. The future with James Gunn. You got the impending WB sale. You know, most are leaning to, you know, they're definitely going to sell. You know, it could be a whole process with that, but you know, we've been through a couple WB sales in our lifetime very recently, and there's always been some kind of movement. You know, especially if some course correction is needed. This puts James Gunn in precarious situation because no matter what you feel about James Gunn Superman, it did not blow any doors off of any records. For us personally, we're saying it wasn't really a cultural impact. Maybe in y'all home out there, it was a cultural impact. But it just, and the lack of hype. I mean, I only can be fair saying it was a lack of hype for the Man of Tomorrow announcement. So this is what we have to look forward to with Gunn is a Supergirl next summer, because I'm not gonna count the streaming stuff. The streaming stuff just does what it does. DC in the theaters, right? Supergirl with Lobo and Jason Momoa. I think it's gonna do okay next summer, but and you can comment on that if you're not with that, but I think it all hinges on Man of Tomorrow 2027 summer.
Yeah,
this is like Gunn's kind of audition to the upcoming owners. We can't just have more of the same. That's just kind of how I feel about that.
No, you're right. I will say what frustrates me even when I hear like what they're doing now compared to what they did then. It is frustrating to see that all of a sudden now there's this mindset of, like where are there. I guess this is the benefit of being the guy who runs DC Studios, right? Because I'm gonna assume this is all Gunn's ideas, right? Compared to like when Zach was there and he's beholden to the powers that be, unfortunately, because here it is that first off, even when we're looking at that slate that you just presented, the only thing that really sticks out to me mostly is the Lanterns thing. And when I look at, but like you said, I agree with you. That should be a film. It shouldn't necessarily. But that just, I personally, I just think that also speaks on their lack of confidence with their brand. That's what that tells me. Because Lanterns for sure is the Green Lantern. I mean, they did a Green Lantern movie at one point because they knew he is a character of that stature. You know what I mean? Why did that change? Right. But even with the fact that they're doing Clayface, I see that and I'm like, that just seems like you guys are kind of like, you're trying to do something that you did before, but hoping it turns out different. What do I mean by that? When I hear, it's going to be more horror, like whatever, you know what comes to my mind? What the hell's his name? Gosh darn it! It was a series that only existed for one season.
Swamp Thing.
That's what comes to my mind, and I honestly was looking forward to the next Swamp Thing season. I thought that was okay, but it's like it's just like, I guess what I don't like is you guys are trying to present like you're doing something different and new, but you're really not. But then here you have Gunn, who, again, I don't even know how you got the job you got. I don't know how you got it, but you got it, whatever. And here you are doing the very thing Zach was trying to do in the sense of like build a universe rotating around the center of it, and that's Superman, right? And it's just sad because it's like we could have had that already. We were technically still even getting it, even with the hard meddling of the studio. But technically, like even the Man of Tomorrow idea, Brainiac, that was Zach's second film.
That was it. You
know what I mean? So it's kind of frustrating to see this guy just run with the very things that aren't necessarily original in any kind of way or shape or form, other than he likes to butcher the versions that exist and make it his own weird thing. And it's I'm sorry, I'm going hard now.
I'll be remiss if I don't do my James Gunn drop. Hold on. I hate James Gunn. I had to put that in there because I'm like, hey, sometimes we gotta get it out, you know.
You gotta do it, man. You gotta do it.
But it's again, it's all warranted because I'm looking at that impact and the lack thereof, and this is stuff that I monitor all the time. I'm just just trying to tell people like the couple of days that Zack Snyder posting pictures compared to an entire James Gunn Superman film. There's more hype on Instagram right now.
Yeah.
Than coming from that film. And so it's like, me coming from the side of, hey, let's just see what they do with DC in general.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the scale has to go up.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I'm going to be fine with Supergirl just because there's a different writer, different director. So I'm looking forward to just how that's presented. I'm looking forward to the entire 2026 because what we realized in 2025 that I've been saying recently is this was the GunnVerse year. This was James Gunn was like, I'm doing Creature Commandos, Superman, Peacemaker season 2.
Yeah, it was all him.
It was all in, like, when people was like, oh, this is going to be the GunnVerse. I was like, he's going to have different people. But this entire year and the lack of cultural impact is, I think, is very apparent that, okay, Gunn going forward, and I think you suggested this last time, just put on your Feige cap, Gunn, and just hire, talented people. Like, because I think you're going to get that with Supergirl. But then he's like, oh, I'm going to do Man of Tomorrow. So it's just like, bro, I think this is my theory. I think when Warner Brothers is finally sold, meaning there'll be a new owner of Warner Brothers and DC, I think they're going to look at this and just be like, okay, best case scenario, if they keep Gunn, it's like, Gunn, you're not going to direct any summer DC films anymore.
I think
that's my theory.
I think that's right. I mean,
that's the best case scenario.
That's the best case. I was about to say that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you going, dog?
It's over. Right.
The thing is like I said, from the jump is, bro, you should have just kept that Kevin Feige cap on. Be appreciative of the fact that you got a job that you honestly didn't deserve. That's the reality here. Like, you haven't really done anything grandiose other than your luckily right timing of things, of hopping into the Marvel universe, doing the Guardians of the Galaxy, and your formula fitting with the characters you chose and fitting within the very universe that somebody else created, not yourself. That is your success story, bro.
And it's the height of Marvel. And see this, because people, I don't know how they hear that, how they receive that, but because Gunn, all of his celebrity, and people could talk about it, Super and Brightburn, he produced that and things like that, lower budget things. Marvel, he jumped into Marvel at the most opportune time when Marvel was at its height.
Yes.
Right. And he rolled that first film. It worked great in that formula. And everyone was going to every Marvel film back then, like that's grandmas, right. Everyone was going.
Facts.
And that carries over to part 2 of Guardians, which I don't even think is a good film.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? But it's just he carried the hype. And so arguably when I talk about Guardians 3, when I say that's his best film he's put together, and its success as far as performance in the box office wasn't just simply, oh, James Gunn is wonderful. It was, oh, these characters that was introduced at the height of Marvel, this is their latest film. Like, you know what I mean? Like, is that a difference to you? Like, what do you think with that?
No. You're 100% right. That's always been my standpoint on that. Is, and again, that's the point I was literally just making. Is you should have been appreciative that you got a job that you really didn't deserve, in the sense of, like, my guy, you were lucky enough to hop into a world, a universe or a cinematic universe that was already at the height of its of its run, and you ate off that, my guy. That's your success story. This is what you're praised for. And somehow you are worthy enough to be the head of an entire comic book movie studio. You know what I mean?
He finessed that hard, right?
You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, that's what's crazy, because the reality is nobody cares about you doing Suicide Squad. You know what I mean? You didn't get much. That wasn't like, oh man, look at what a great job he did with Suicide Squad. He deserves to be the head of DC Studios. there's no way. There's just no way
Mm.
that, you know what I'm saying? Like the resume they're looking at is the fact that, oh, look at what he did with Guardians. And even that, again, anybody who's honest would say the very points we just pointed out.
Yeah.
And this is what you got lucky, or not even lucky, like you said, you finessed this really hard, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you should have just finesse your way in there, take the seat, receive the paycheck, and then hire someone else that's actually way more talented than you are to direct these films. Point blank period. And then if you want, you can come in, you could say your piece, you know, give your, you know what I'm saying? Add, maybe there could be some Gunnisms that you can opinionate to your directors, you know, and there you go. You know what I'm saying? Like a little dash of Gunnisms, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And whatever, man.
Throw a few things in there,
you know. But at least these films could have probably been more promising and more grandiose and more culturally impacting than what you clearly have failed to do with everything you've dropped so far, including Suicide Squad, Superman, Peacemaker, Creature Commandos. Like, are we gonna can we be honest here? Is there a fan base that likes those things? Sure, but is it culturally impacting? Is it just another comic book movie or comic book related? It's
more content out there. And backing up to the Guardians real quick, because I'll be remiss if I don't point this out, that not only did he jump into Marvel at his height, Nicole Perlman was the writer, and she constructed the entire roster of Guardians. They just needed a director to come in, and he came in and tried to push out her credit. That was a long-standing fight with that. And when I put a whole expose out there like over a year ago, and they got me banned off Twitter for about a week because
that's crazy.
You know what I mean? That's how crazy those gun goons, those Glazers got. They was like, him, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, my point when I brought that up, I was like, okay, Gunn is being so praised as his writer, and I was like, oh yeah, the success is there for Guardians for sure. Yeah, but he was just a piece of that.
That's right.
I give him credit for the music and, you know, the Gunnisms. That was unique for him. Yeah, it worked for Marvel, but the whole structure of Guardians was Nicole Perlman.
That's facts.
You know what I mean? And when he was left to do part 2 by himself, it wasn't as good as the first one.
Right.
The third one, like I said, me being objective, he actually did a great job. I felt, you know, with the third story. You know, but a lot of that was leaning onto what we felt about the first one, which I give a lion's share to Nicole Perlman with that. But you fast forward to the DC stuff, like you said, the impact of this year, as we got to move past this gun stuff now, but just the impact. Put the gun down. Put it down. The impact of this year, though. Yeah. People got to be honest with themselves, man. Like, just Creature Commandos. Like, I don't know if that was like the best way to start off your world, your DC world with that. But leaning onto what you said, though, if you would have just came in and let's say bring in Christopher McQuarrie, do that Superman film with the Lanterns, and even if they weren't going to keep Cavill, whatever, if you wanted to reboot, okay, I still think you should have gotten a different director for Superman.
Yes, that's facts. No, you're right. It's like there's what we would have preferred overall, but the best case scenario in a direction that doesn't go in whatever I would have thought. The reality is, even if you didn't keep Henry Cavill, bring in another director. That shouldn't be on you. Starting off a new universe with a animated series of characters that nobody really knows about. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. And at the moment, if I was David Zaslav, the moment I saw that, I would have known this ship is sinking. And
and actually, let's lean into this for a moment. So, because we talked about again with the Superman thing, and just if it's just a lukewarm mid feeling, then maybe they accomplished something. Because I don't believe it's complete trash, but I know that stamp is not there
Yeah.
like cultural impact. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
Because I do think with his Superman film, what we've received, I do think it's kind of polarizing either way. Either you're overly glazing it, or you're saying they're the dumbest people ever to like. I do.
Yeah.
There is a middle ground, but you're hearing more polarizing. But let's set that Superman aside.
Right.
Creature Commandos, and you probably even haven't watched it, but the finale of Creature Commandos and then the finale of Peacemaker season 2 left a lot to be desired, even with his own fan base. So it's like that impact wasn't even there for those smaller things to, because I Peacemaker season 1, whether it was manufactured or not, it was some kind of buzz because he had the Justice League at the end and people was kind of like, oh, okay, Peacemaker, was trying to be in the DCEU, that was the talk of season 1. Season 2 in Creature Commandos, it was like, okay, it was some moments in Creature Commandos, even through a Batman silhouette, and then the finale was like a dud. Same thing with Peacemaker season 2. I thought he had a great cameo with Lex Luthor in there. I was like, oh, this is, interesting. DC can do series of movies connecting.
Right.
And then that finale, did you hear a lot about that finale of Peacemaker season 2? It was a lot of backlash with that.
Yeah, no, I can't. You know what? No, I do remember. Yeah, I do remember there was some backlash, but like, I wasn't even that like into it to even care. You know what I mean? Like, because I honestly didn't even give. I haven't watched the Peacemaker season 1. I haven't watched Creature Commandos, even though a lot of people did tell me like they thought that was actually probably one of the better things that came out. But yeah, I didn't hear anything about how that ended. I haven't watched season 2 of Peacemaker. Like, I had no interest. But yes, I do remember that there was this kerfuffle about the way season 2 ended for Peacemaker.
He didn't stick to landings with that. So it's like, as we turn the page on this year of the GunnVerse, because I don't think he's never gonna get this opportunity again. There's no way Zaslav or the new owners of Warner Brothers, they're not gonna allow Gunn to do 3 projects and DC projects in 1 year again. Never gonna happen again.
They should.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're seeing, like, again, polarizing Superman film,
right? And
then lukewarm endings to your streaming shows.
That's right.
That's your legacy. That's Gunn's legacy right there with DC.
Well, yeah, no, that is his legacy. That is his legacy.
So that's why we turn the page to, again, this sale.
Yes.
Of Warner Brothers, and like me and you just said, best case scenario for Gunn, if he is retained, is just be an exec, probably do like a weird Condiment King series or something on the side, or do your weird stuff. Leave the big stuff to the big boys.
Right.
But a lot of people feel, and we kind of just reiterate this for a moment. Let's say Man of Tomorrow is just more of the same, even if Supergirl is good.
Right.
The new owners of Warner Brothers likely will course correct and want to do something, even if they keep Corn Sweat, but just we're not going to do this Gunn idea if purchased, right? That's kind of where I'm leaning, with that.
I think the beauty of honest, this is going to sound bad, but I think the beauty of if there's the purchase to be made now by someone else, whichever of the 3 contenders that are right now being discussed, I think the beauty is that this new DC universe, it's there's nothing really to stand on. You know what I'm saying? So it's like whether you keep it or not, there's nothing to gain or lose. That's just the reality.
Now, see, it's interesting how you say that too, because like, let's say someone comes in and just say, the favorite is Paramount, right? You mentioned the 3 contenders. You got Comcast, you got Netflix,
right?
Making a serious push for it, and we'll kind of get into each of these. But it's you compare this to, when Zack Snyder was pushed out, right? The middle of Justice League, and how even they brought in Whedon, right? And he tried to retool Josh. I watched Justice League a couple times. I watched it a couple times.
Yeah,
And so I
yeah.
remember how he was trying to retool. He tried to end the Nightmare storyline like in there and, just kind of close the loop.
Yeah.
And it was very sloppy. It was just very clumsily reshot. You saw Ben Affleck just aging in front of your eyes, like every reshot scene, and it just was not a clean course correction.
Yeah.
With James Gunn's Superman, anyone with talent can come in there and just be like, okay, 1 year later,
yeah.
just do
exactly.
Like they literally could just be like, and just be a totally, different vibe and everything.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's such a blank canvas, even though there's technically paint on it. It's still pretty blank, that you can do whatever you want. You can keep it or throw it away. It would make no difference. That's kind of like the benefit of like if you did want to do something DC, you could either choose to use what was recently, put together. But the beauty of it is you could choose to use something that's already been there, seasoned, and apparently is still the talk of the town. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. They could literally just use also what's already kind of recently been used and just course correct and be like, yeah, a year later from then, this is where they matured to, and
they literally could do that. So we mentioned the three contenders for Warner Brothers, Universal, which is Comcast, Netflix, Paramount. You have any favorites? Are you seeing anything out there? Any chatter for any of these?
Yeah, no, for sure. I would say for me.
Well, hey, you made it this far, so you might as well make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you're still subscribed. And also, too, I want you to check out the latest on the sylabdul Geek Network, where I also cover CBM Geek News, notable DC, etc. But it's shorter forms and also has some unique videos as well. Just in case you missed it, here's the latest video over there. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. So this has been a heavily requested article saying, hey, what's going on with Cosmic Book News and what are they talking about? Over 6 months ago, I was talking about the Saudi connection. And now recently, Cosmic Book News is speaking on that and in return to Snyderverse. And so, everyone has their sources. Doesn't mean, everyone's not 100%. That's kind of how I look at everyone. What I don't respect is people that's trying to grift the Snyder fandom. And I don't really appreciate that. But the much requested Cosmic Book News says Zack Snyder, Christopher Nolan, and Saudis set to bring back the Snyderverse. Interesting combination here. I don't know the full connection here, so let's look at the article. I only heard pieces of this, so you are kind of getting my true reaction to this article here. All right, so it says, on the eve of the anniversary of the theatrical Justice League release, our insiders have reached out with major updates about Zack Snyder, sale of Warner Bros. Discovery, and what is now being described as a full play scenario for the return of the Snyderverse. That's not the conclusion I'm drawing, is that this entire sale is about returning the Snyderverse. I don't believe that angle, but let's see what evidence they have here. All right. Warner Bros. Discovery is officially up for sale. It's no coincidence that Zack Snyder has been posting nonstop DCEU images and liking fan content on Instagram that compares the performance of his films to James Gunn's struggling DCU projects. So just right off the top here, because again, I have my favorites in this on all sides of this, but you could tell the angle, right? I don't think I have to. You could tell the angle of Cosmic Book News. They kind of have something against James Gunn, and also to they have something against James Gunn's politics as well too. That Earth X image in Peacemaker season 2 rubbed a few people the wrong way, which is from the comics. But so we just gotta know what we're getting into when we talk about the angle of this article. Okay, so it's gonna be very personal against James Gunn. The timing lines up with what we have been told. If WBD is sold, James Gunn will be out as head of DC Studios. As far as what I heard, so this is why I'm gonna start doing articles like this, because I can kind of interject what I hear and compare. I was told very recently that James Gunn is going to have a shot to impress the new owners. Let's say Paramount wins the bid for Warner Bros., which at the time of this recording, Paramount is in the lead. I heard that first thing this morning. Let's say Paramount gets it and they buy all of Warner Bros. Discovery. They're going to allow that report. David Ellison made sure they got out there that they're going to make Zaslav. This is the event of Paramount getting WB. Zaslav will be co-chairman of the entire conglomerate. So it'll be David Ellison, and then it'll be like an inch down, it'll be Zaslav, co-chair. Zaslav will keep intact all his execs under Warner Brothers, New Line Cinema, DC Animation. All that stuff will stay intact. So that means James Gunn would actually stay. I was told just really it's all about performance. Ground level, James Gunn Superman, Supergirl got to do just as good, if not better. Man of Tomorrow has to build on it. If there's any slide back, even with Supergirl, then yeah, James Gunn will be in trouble next summer. Like he'll be in trouble because then they won't extend his contract. If it's not extended already. If Supergirl lands, which I think it will, I think Supergirl with Lobo, I think it's going to do fine. Man of Tomorrow, if there's any slide back on Man of Tomorrow, because like I said, I'm just going to assume Supergirl is going to do good enough. Any slide back on Man of Tomorrow, then Gunn is done. Then James Gunn is done. So we're going to find out who's going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery in under 4 weeks. So before Christmas. Then it's going to take like 2 years to close that deal. So you're talking about around 2028, everything will close. That's going to give James Gunn enough time to just make sure DC's performing. Because what I was told is DC has to be on an upward trajectory. It can't be anything mediocre. The vibes have to be, like I said, it's good enough. It's expanding. And then James gonna get a chance to, get through his Superman saga, his DCU Batman and everything like that. So that's my first thing. I'm kind of like, I'm not hearing that it's going like that. Because if Comcast buys Warner Bros. Discovery, it will again be like a merger type situation, and likely they will get the same deal. They will give the same deal to Zaslav that Paramount would. That Zaslav, you get co-chairman, you can keep your execs intact, and then see how they perform. So I'm not ready to say if it's so that James Gunn is out. So that's my first solid disagreement in this article. They say this comes from the same insider who told us Daredevil Born Again was being completely retooled months before, however, a reporter confirmed it exactly as we reported it. It's the same source who has been actively filling us in on the WBD sale and David Zaslav's plans before the trades caught up. Their track record speaks for itself. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know this track record or what they said about the sale. And in fact, I'm going to jump to this one real quick, because I want to see this track record they're talking about. Comcast enters the fight. Comcast has officially entered the bidding for Warner Brothers Discovery, but not the entire company. Instead, Comcast is exploring an offer for WBD streaming and film divisions. which lines up exactly what we've been told for years. Zasla's plan has always been to split Warner Brothers in two and to hopefully sell to Comcast. Well, I said that 4 years ago. So this is kind of interesting reading this. Me and the late, great Mikey Sutton, we said this in 2021. But they're just saying from their side, their sources have been telling them since 2023. I try to timestamp everything I do. So, hey, they're just saying, hey, their source told them a couple years ago. Here we told you 4 years ago. So, okay, we'll just leave it at that. Because I'm not even trying to get into comparing sources and stuff like that, right? Let's get to this Snyderverse claims. That's what I really want to get to. It says Snyderverse in full play for return. Regarding DC, the message from our insider is clear. The Snyderverse is back in play fully. Okay. That means Zack Snyder returned to DC. Not just for a one-off Elseworlds title, but an actual revival of the universe he started. I'm just gonna kind of tell people here. When we say restore the Snyderverse, a lot of people, they're saying, okay, we want Justice League 2 and 3, the Batfleck film, Man of Steel 2, the Cyborg film. So it's like, what when you say full revival, they should have kind of filled in what they meant by that, because people have different meanings. With me, when I say restore the Snyderverse, I'm just saying, let's finish that Justice League story. Let's do the Nightmare movie, and then I guess couple it with the world becomes the Justice League versus Dark Side. Or actually, what does Zach say? JO3 is like a Dark Side, like heist movie, like or something like that. So I want to see those two projects, and then the story can end. The Snyderverse can end right there. Now, if we can get a Batfleck film, that'd be great. I don't really see a Man of Steel 2. We was very close to getting it, but I don't see a Man of Steel 2 in a scenario. I made it very clear I'm leaning on the Saudis to do at least one major IP, and I think they can do the Nightmare movie or film it back to back or something like that. So I just wish they would have filled in a little more details there. I hate vague details. I'm just gonna be honest with you. But let's see. Let's go further. We're told Christopher Nolan is also part of the plan to return as executive producer. That's the same Christopher Nolan who backed Snyder on Man of Steel, helped shape the original vision for DC before WB derailed it with studio interference. According to what we've been previously told, it was also Nolan's decision to hand over DC to Snyder. Well, yeah, everybody knows that. While Snyder has publicly said he wanted to end his DC career with an adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns, we're now told that the impending sale of WBD has shifted everything. He is pivoting towards restoring the Snyderverse outright. If that happens, it implies a return of Ben Affleck as Batman. Ben would do it for Zach, yes. Who publicly rejected working with Gunn's DCU after its announcement. You see the Gunn shade. You see, like I said, there's some personal shade in here. And Cavill as Superman. Fans remember Cavill's widely seen interview with Josh Horowitz confirming his comeback, only for Gunn to immediately upend it. See, I hate James Gunn. Like, where's my drop? It's, I hate James Gunn. And that's Cosmic News. Anytime I read their articles now, I see what their angle is. I hate James Gunn. The Cosmic News, that drops for you. Gal Gadot has also been visibly active supporting Snyderverse posts. Well, Gal posted her Wonder Woman for Halloween. So, again, let's get specific here. Let's not do no vague stuff here, all right? None of this is accidental. Even Ezra Miller is making some sort of Hollywood return. Well, Ezra Miller is innocent. So, yeah, Ezra Miller, everyone can come back. We got update 1. We're told the Saudis want to rival Marvel and Avengers Doomsday with a Snyderverse level event. Now, this is a cool update right here. Saudis want to rival Marvel. Oh man, let's go for okay. We may have something here. Cosmic Book News. Uh-oh. So following our report from yesterday about the return of the Snyderverse, our insiders has filled us with a larger plan behind the Saudi bid for Warner Bros. Discovery. It explains why Zack Snyder's been posting nonstop, why Christopher Nolan continues to publicly praise Snyder's influence on blockbuster filmmaking. Well, Nolan, he made a comment here or there, okay. According to what we're told, Saudi Arabia's public investment fund isn't just buying WB for content. They want to rival Marvel and build an event franchise on the scale of Avengers Doomsday. Something James Gunn's DCU cannot deliver while the studio waits to be sold.
I hate James Gunn.
Hey, this is y'all drop. Y'all working that James Gunn shade like every paragraph. I understand that Earth X didn't sit well with you, did it? But oh man. Oh, this turns to a James Gunn article. I'm not reading all this about James Gunn. I wanted to read about the Saudis. Oh man. It says why James Gunn's DCU is stuck. Gunn's future at DC Studios becomes uncertain the moment WBD is sold. He can't greenlight a massive crossover event because leadership knows ownership is about to change. That's why his slate is small and insulated around his Superman family saga. Gunn just announced the Jimmy Olsen series. Andy Muschietti said he isn't allowed to talk about the DCU Batman. Well, yeah, because they're a ways away from doing DCU Batman. Gunn has openly stated that he doesn't want to touch Darkseid, which our insiders say is a key indicator. Sometimes there be some lines in here. There's different kinds of lines, but the Saudis view Snyder as the filmmaker meant to complete the DC epic he started, which of course features Darkseid as a villain. Okay. Says Nolan's position signals a shift. Christopher Nolan's movements are another major sign. He moved to Universal, okay, and he's currently filming The Odyssey in Morocco, where our insiders made a point of telling us it's close to the Saudi film expansion. I don't know about that one. Saudi Arabia's PIF reportedly recently met with Comcast Universal about the Warner Bros. Acquisition. Combine that with the $55 billion EA Games purchase, it's clear they're constructing a multimedia empire that ties together film, games, sports, theme parks. I don't know if it's going to tie all that together, but that's a nice concept. That's a nice concept. Snyder's already connected with Saudi Arabia. We're told Nolan and Snyder are the bellwether, meaning their moves signal where the future of blockbuster filming is heading. Nolan has been openly pointing to Snyder's influence on global blockbuster filmmaking, citing examples like RRR or Triple R, whatever you call it, while major filmmakers such as Russo brothers and James Cameron have echoed similar points. Snyder's relationship with Saudi Arabia is already established through his UFC partnership on Brawler. And I covered that on my main podcast channel. Check that out for the long form content. We're specifically told that the Saudis and UFC favor Snyder's muscular filmmaking style. Well, you were specifically told this? No, the statement said that. I guess I'll throw it on the screen. Turkey Alley Sheik told you that. That wasn't from a source. Just to kind of recap, I guess everything that's been said here. The Christopher Nolan angle, I'm not sure. It seems like they were pushing the Christopher Nolan angle because people probably thought Comcast was the favorite. Because I covered that in real time when Brian Roberts, CEO of Comcast, went over to Saudi Arabia, and people was like, hey, if the Saudis back Comcast, and all of a sudden they're saying Christopher Nolan. Now we know Paramount seems to be the favorite. So I don't know how Christopher Nolan fits into jumping over to Paramount. When Nolan, again, he's did the Odyssey, they was talking about, hey, he's filming the Odyssey, he's with Universal. So the story kind of falls apart when Paramount, it seems to be, jumping in the lead here. And they were including the Saudi bid. A lot of people was running with this, this initial report that the Saudis was going to buy everything $70 billion, when there was no way the Trump administration was going to allow a foreign, company to come in and buy Warner Brothers 100%. That just wasn't going to happen. Then that bombshell dropped a few days ago. I was in the middle of recording a video, and then boom, the Paramount deal leaked, which included 3 Arab sovereign nations, including the Saudis, along with Qatar and Abu Dhabi, all going to get a piece of the Warner Brothers, or a minority stake in the deal with Paramount. And the terms of the deal is that they will all each be able to use a major Warner Brothers IP. I do feel, and this is the only part of this article I like, because everything else is kind of like, I like this here, because I do believe this is one thing I would agree with, that the Saudis would do a DC event level film. I'm with you on that one. Everything else in this article, it kind of sounds like just a slight at James Gunn.
I hate James Gunn.
So I'm gonna have that clip ready anytime I see a Cosmic Book article. But again, a few people reached out to me, said, "Hey, can you kind of look at this Cosmic Book news?" Hey, like I said, everyone has their sources. As far as the Christopher Nolan angle, I think that goes out of the window if Universal, Comcast, if they don't get WB, then I don't know how you include Christopher Nolan if it's not with Universal. The James Gunn angle, I was told he's going to get a chance to actually, sustain. As long as his DC successful, they're not going to rock the boat. Now, you could disagree out there saying, "Oh, Superman didn't do enough." I'm told it did good enough. I believe Supergirl is going to sustain that success. So it's all on Man of Tomorrow. If there's any backslide with Man of Tomorrow, then it probably will be a wrap from James Gunn. So we'll see. But those are my thoughts on this. Again, I like this Saudi part. Now, let's kind of embellish more with that. If you're going to talk about restoring the Snyderverse, Cosmic Book news, you want to kind of define what you think restore the Snyderverse is. It could be possibly that you don't believe the Snyderverse is going to return, Cosmic Book news. So I just want you to be clear when you're writing your articles, restore the Snyderverse, since you don't believe Snyderverse coming back, but what is your sources telling you, Cosmic Book news, when they tell you restore the Snyderverse? That's my test question. If that gets across to y'all, and then we will see if they update their story further. Because first we had the Saudis buying everything. Did y'all see the line there? You had the Saudis buying everything. Then you had Universal partnering with Christopher Nolan. Now we understand it's really Paramount, and Saudis is getting just a minority stake, but they still could use a major IP according to the Paramount leaked deal. I just hope they be very clear when you talk about Snyderverse. Be very, very clear. That's my advice.